We'll start, and then because Trin and Autumn leaves, they're both in the training bit up at the top. So,
yeah.
But we'll. How about we start, and then
we can rabbit on about our stuff, can't we? A bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right, with possibly our biggest audience ever. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 64 of the Fetch Everyone Weekly Podcast. And now we all sing the theme tune. Anyway, so fetcheveryone.com is a free website for runners, bikers, swimmers, and everyone else. Some websites put their best features behind a what?
Paywall.
Hey. We don't do that. Visit fetcheveryone.com/podcast with your comments, questions, and interventions, that kind of thing. We've just got a new joiner.
Yes.
So Trin is just about to join the meeting as well. So here she comes.
Where is she? Oh, there she is.
There she is.
And so, Tim is looking at us now. Tim, can you hear us?
Hello, Tim.
57.5 degrees of pain. No, he's gone again.
Now he's connected to audio. I don't know. Anyway, so for those of you who are listening to this but not watching it, we just need to explain why this might be a little bit more of a shambolic podcast than normal. It's because we're doing it live over Zoom, and we currently have 6 participants who are talking to us and one who's just kind of looking at us.
No, but I think Tim can hear us. Tim, can you hear us now? Because
it looks like his microphone's muted.
Yeah, have you muted him?
I unmute. Tim, have you muted your audio somehow?
There, I've unmuted myself.
Yay!
Oh, brilliant.
Whatever you did gave me the option to unmute.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know quite why that happened, but anyway, it's nice to hear from you. So as you are standing there out of breath, I think we might just come to you first and find out. So how come you're out of breath?
Okay, well, I'm participating in the final of Who Squares Wins in the multi-match, where there's 2 of us running around like crazy within our Who Squares Wins squares, desperately trying to beat each other. And my opponent is in Australia, so he tends to do his running in one 12-hour part of the day, and then I'm in Scotland. I'll just show people who are on the video the view.
Wow!
The view of the Murray, a couple of parked oil rigs across the way, and so I'm getting my squares in now, and the final results have to be in by midday today. So this is me craftily trying to do a run and win the game, which anybody who plays Who Squares Wins know that what you do on a Monday morning is very important in the tactics of the game.
So
and it's also a beautiful sunny day.
So are you going to upload your run straight away, or are you going to just play possum for a bit and upload it when?
Well, this will be interesting. I'm certainly not going to be doing it at 5 to 12 just in case.
Okay.
Although in the semi-final of the game, I did end up, because I was late out running. I was literally running along, virtually setting up the upload as I was running. So I'm hoping to be a bit more organised today.
Excellent.
So is this your first time in the final?
I was in the final the last game as well, but the last game I was basically hanging on by my fingertips and got absolutely hammered. Whereas this time, it's the perfect time of year for me. I'm not working most days because of the lockdown. The ticks haven't, and the nettles, which will take over half the places I can run at the moment, haven't taken over yet. And the weather's been absolutely fantastic in Scotland. So it's my one opportunity to go absolutely nuts on the running for a week.
Excellent. So are you in a good position in score terms?
Well, hopefully. We've been very close. Every night I upload and go into the lead, and every morning I wake up and the Australian has uploaded his, and he's back in the lead. So who knows? It's probably one of the more competitive finals. But it depends. I'll try and be crafty, and I'll try and win it. As I put on the forum about Who Squares Wins yesterday. This is the only form of the Ashes you're getting this summer, so we'll hope that the UK can beat Australia.
Well, I'm sure there'll be a massive audience for the thrilling finale of that. But so, do you think your opponent? It's JCB, isn't it? Who you're playing?
Yes, yeah, he's one of the Who Squares Wins obsessives. He keeps the stats, and I bet he's got some crafty uploading planned. So I've just got to do my best.
It's amazing the way that when I put the games up and I try and keep the rules relatively simple, but people always seem to find loopholes, tactics, dark magic, anything to try and score more points or to win the game that I didn't even think was possible. So
it's no wonder cheating goes on in elite sports when at least not cheating, but strong tactics go on even in a little amateur game on Fetch.
I wasn't taking umbrage at the word cheating there. I was taking umbrage at the fact that you said that Who Squares Wins is not an elite sport. I beg to differ.
Well, this, given the lack of other sports, I think for me that it pretty much has been this week. It's the only thing that's been keeping me motivated to get out in the last few weeks.
Oh, that's good to hear. So, are you back at your house now?
Nope, I'm still out partway on my run. So as soon as I'll log off for a bit and progress a little bit further. Still got a few more miles to get in before midday.
Excellent.
Okay,
but at the moment, I've got the most scenic bit because I'm running down the seashore.
Lovely.
Lovely.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you get on and we'll have a little chat to everyone else. But I guess you can sign into the meeting a bit later on if you want and let us know how you've progressed.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Okay.
All right. Best of luck.
Enjoy the rest of the podcast, folks. I'll look forward to listening.
Well done,
Good luck.
Good luck.
Cool.
Lovely.
All
We
right.
still haven't
Bye-bye,
got
Tim.
Trinity. Are we going to try and anything to do there? Not really, is there?
No. Trin, are you able to hear us at all?
I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
We just can't see you. That's all. I don't know whether or not you've.
What do I need to do?
Hang on. I'll do ask to start video.
Hey.
There you are.
Hey.
Trin.
Yay.
Hello.
She's also
Hi,
a memo about wearing red.
Chris's top is more like orange, really. So you know, he's broken game.
We've got to go get changed.
No, all right. The video's on, Chris. The video's on. Okay, so where are we? Normally we just go, shall you do this bit now? Or and then we edit that bit out.
Well, we're on the bit where we talk about training, aren't we? And
Yeah.
we were going to have a little brief chat about what we've been up to this week. And do you want to go first with yours? What's happened with you this week?
Yeah, so 3 runs. The first one was with Stephen on Monday or Tuesday, I think. And then on Wednesday, I got my first time in ages going to see my boy. So on Thursday morning, I got up before him because he's sleeping until about 11 o'clock. And I did laps around the block, 13 laps to make 10K. So, and weirdly enough, after my run yesterday, I've come home with a tight calf. So it seems to follow every time I do one of these multi-lap runs, I come home with a tight calf. But in my defense, I did anti-clockwise and hurt the right calf on the first multi-lap run I did. And then I did clockwise and also hurt the right calf. So I'm taking that as it's not related.
Next time you'll have to alternate your laps, clockwise, anti-clockwise, etc.
Yeah.
And see if you hurt neither calf or still the right
Or
one.
both calves at the same time. Ping, ping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did do a treatment yesterday, so he's had a little treatment on it, and I'm going to treat it, which is very exciting for me to be treating someone. So that's also been a bonus for me, but not so much of a bonus for you.
No.
But yeah, so we've had a sort of a weird week with training because Ian went away, and I had Stephen to run with on Friday, and Stephen, I don't know if has anyone else got dogs, and are your dogs acting strangely during the lockdown? No, I'm getting mostly shaking heads. Our dogs are acting strangely, aren't they? Especially Stephen.
In fairness, Stephen was acting strangely before the lockdown. I mean, he's...
But he's become he stares at people, doesn't he, for a long time.
Yeah.
And he's doing this thing. So when I took him out on Friday, we ran past a runner who was a really sort of slow and steady runner. And Stephen and I ran past him, and then we were ahead of him then for about another 3/4 of a mile with him still in view. And Stephen wouldn't stop staring at him. And what that means when you're running with Stephen is that he's dragging back on the lead all the time. So it's like a form of resistance running, which is not pleasant.
He seems fully capable of being able to run whilst looking over his shoulder as well.
Yes. So he's running and like he's looking back at this person, but it's dragging me back. So but my running weirdly has gone well this week. It's like Ian and I can't be in sync with our running both going well.
Yeah, there's only so many running credits available in this house, and you're spending them at the moment.
I'm getting them. I'm getting the running credits. Yeah. And I've done 5 yogas, I think, this week. So is anyone else doing the yogas? Trin, do you do yoga, don't you? Yeah. How's it going for you?
Yeah, it's good actually. I started with Adrian on the January home sessions that she was doing, which I think you have been doing, haven't you, Katie?
Yeah.
Then I continued because she does a calendar every month, so I continued with February and March, and now I'm on April. So okay. I'm aiming to complete the year.
Wow. Okay. So are you doing it every day and doing exactly the one that she's saying each day? Okay.
No, I'm kind of trying to keep as close as I can to the calendar, but I yoga every other day. So some days I double up, and when it's a long one, I'll do that one, and then some days I might even do 3 sessions. So
okay. Wow. Yeah, I mean sometimes so yesterday I did something like a 20-minute one, and the next day's one was a 15-minute one, and I nearly did both of them, but I decided not to in the end. But it is quite nice that you can do that, and sometimes I find sort of 2 consecutive ones fit together really nicely on one day, like they really complement each other. Yeah. So the other thing I think you were going to talk us through, Trin, was your lap. So did you want to show us your lap, or? And
your ninja outfit, please.
Yes.
I'll take you around my lap then. Okay, so this is, and obviously some people are going to be listening to this podcast, so I'll do a kind of a commentary at the same time.
Yeah.
I can't just like walk around it. All right, so here we go. This is the start line. The start line there.
There is an actual start line. That's fantastic.
Yeah, this is the start line. Yeah.
Is that your dog?
Yeah, I'll walk down here past. Sorry?
Is that your dog?
So I walk down. Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, Gillen. So I walk down past the front of the house. Get to the end here. Turn round. That's the little road down there.
Oh, that's pretty.
Turn round. Come back across the front of the house. And then we take a left. Here, go through a little gap in the wall.
Oh.
Might have. Oh no, we're all right.
And then we go around. So if I trip, then I could end up in the pool, and then I'd be in trouble.
Yeah.
Please don't trip.
That's another left.
It's a very blue-looking swimming pool for listeners.
And then I get the longest straight bit to the end. So along here, past this tree here, which is but it just bees all through it. Anyway, so along here, then I can take a left or a right. So I can generally turn right here. Around the terrace, left, and then along here, and then a left again, and then we're almost back to where we started, past the tree with the bees, back through the little gap in the wall,
Oh, wow.
and back to the start line. And that's my lap.
Wow. Well, your
Did you see all
house
that?
is lovely.
Yeah, your house looks amazing.
Thank
You've got
you.
your balustrades. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah. So that lap is about 0.05 of a mile. And yesterday I did 50.
Oh,
50 laps. And I got 3 miles.
wow. That's
Blimey.
amazing. I know
Yeah.
there's a few fetchies who are doing this. So LC2 is also doing laps of her garden, and I follow her training, and it literally just looks like someone's taken a pen and done a big scribble on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
So she's doing couch to 5K in her back garden at the moment.
Yeah.
So amazing.
Yeah.
So really amazing. Oh,
So I did-
hello.
Hello.
It's autumn leaves.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Good to see you all.
Oh, good.
Very
to see
exciting.
you. Thanks for joining us. We have started and we've done a little bit of talking about training. So
Okay.
I think we were going to talk to you, but we'll let you get your breath a minute, because we also want to talk to Cora. Do you want to?
Yeah, Cora. So I think you were going to talk about how your training has changed. Do you have you got a lap like Trins, or are you facing other challenges, or what's going on?
I'm managing to get out fairly local. I'm trying to stay as close to the house as possible because I've been in since about the 16th of March. Due to my asthma and stuff like that, everybody said to me, no, you should stay in. So I've been going slightly demented, but managing to get out. Most of my races have been now cancelled. So the things that's been keeping me going has actually been the treasure hunt.
Yeah.
It forces me out the door.
Excellent.
So there's been a lot of treasure hunting going along, and there's been a few running club challenges. I know Scottish Athletics have put a few challenges out for 5K, and the latest one this weekend is a 15-minute challenge. So it's run as far as you possibly can in 15 minutes. So there's been a few of those going on, and there's usually a bit of competition with the running club anyway between the lads and the girls. So see who can get farthest, or do we had one club member ended up running, he's offshore, so he did laps of the helideck. So there's been some unusual entries, but a lot of it's just trying to have been scheduling things. I because I'm working from home, I'm absolutely rubbish and can't seem to schedule my day at all. So I went a bit nuts with Google Calendar last night and did the most beautiful scheduling for all the weeks to come, and put in specific outdoor exercise time. I'll add any planned training sessions I've got to that. And once we've got the new treasure hunt, I'll actually add a specific treasure hunt item to that as well. So it forces me out the door. Reminders, anything you can to just get you outside. I mean, we've had unprecedented gorgeous weather up here in Scotland, so it's just starting to turn now typically. But then again, a run in the rain will be nice as well.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to keep moving and keep motivated, because you know that everything's going to happen next year now, so you can't really sit on your laurels at all. You've got to keep ticking over, or next year's going to be a bit of a nightmare.
Yeah. Your scheduling sounded a lot like when you're in the build up to exams and you do yourself a lovely schedule and you colour it in, and it's all
Revision timetable.
And it's very therapeutic, just laying stuff out, even if you don't quite manage to hit all your targets, just sort of putting it all together. Yeah, so that sounds like a good idea, really, to get a plan. And I know Katie's sort of finds, or has found it hard to sort of find things to do during the day. So having some sort of plan.
But definitely on the days when I fit exercise in, and especially outside exercise, I feel so much better. I definitely have a higher level of mood on those days. And so on the days when I'm not actually running, I'm making sure that the dog walk is nice and long, and you know, just making sure I get those moments outside in the sun, or even not in the sun, just to make sure that I'm soaking in the fresh air a bit. Really, it really does help my mood. Are you finding that, Cora?
Definitely. I kind of be looking around at neighbours saying, who's got a dog? You know, that I could get
Yeah.
out and take out for a walk, just for any excuse to get out, because it's so easy to just start not wanting to. And I've been a bit, the last couple of weeks, this week's been bad, I've been sort of almost wanting to shut myself away and be a bit of a hermit. But I kind of had a bit of a talk with myself yesterday, and it's like, right, come on, we need to do this. That's when the old Google Calendar came in, and I had to Google how to change it, but you know, that's what Google's for. So I had fun with that last night, and I've now got the most beautiful colours and a lovely scheduling reminder set, the lot. I've even got a reminder, setting up bedtime reminders, just to make sure I'm getting proper sleep and sort of not getting out of cycles with sleep, because your rest's obviously really important if you are doing a lot of training, and just for your general health as well. So just trying to make sure that nothing slips and trying to keep as much of a routine as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I think that sounds like you had a bit of a tough time, and you've done something really proactive to kind of bring yourself out of it. So well done, because that's not always easy when you are feeling a bit in the doldrums. It's a little bit difficult, isn't it, to pick yourself out sometimes? So
definitely. Yeah. I mean, that's the support I've had through friends and Fetchies has been phenomenal. So, you know, you guys are the ones that kind of get me out the door as well, because you just there's always someone there with a little bit of a kind word, a little bit of a support, or, you know, the virtual kick up the backside if you need it.
Yeah, I know, absolutely. I'm really pleased that you managed to do that, but do keep just coming and finding someone on Fetch, and if you need us, just we're here, and lots of people are here. So yeah, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that with Chris in a bit, aren't we, about buddying and things.
Yeah, but, absolutely.
Autumn Leaves, or Ellie, do you feel ready to have a chat with us now? I know you're a little bit sort of just rushed into the meeting with your cup of coffee. And
yes, I've got my cup of tea. Yeah,
tea. Okay, good.
Yes, I'm fine.
You've been doing something with Garmin, haven't you?
Yes. So initially, I looked at this plan because it fitted in very neatly. It's 12 weeks long, and it took me to what should have been the start of the Tour of Merseyside, which was my kind of big event for the year, which is a multi-day event, 6 races over the course of a week. Of course, it's now been cancelled. But I thought I would stick with the plan anyway, and it's from the Garmin training plans bit of the Garmin website, and it's just called the Get Fitter, and it's the intermediate level one is the one I'm doing. So it's based on 4 runs a week. The long run is never longer than I think it maxes at about 90 minutes, and the others are one sort of very easy short run, excuse the grandfather clock, and then a couple of interval sessions, but it's all basically based on heart rate. That's what's made it different for me. So everything's obviously kind of pre-planned and pre-programmed, and it's sent through to your watch. So on any given day, I basically put my watch on, load up the training calendar, hit the right day, and it will tell me what I'm supposed to be doing that day. And the watch just, I hit start, off I go, and it beeps at me until I'm in the right zone, and tells me I'm not working hard enough, or will tell me I'm working too hard. And I've found, for me, keeping up a level of intensity for the interval training in particular, actually having the watch sort of tell me what to do has made it easier. I think if I could have planned it myself, and I'd have had it sitting on my plan, but I think particularly just this last couple of weeks, heading out and thinking, right, I'm going to run really hard for 8 minutes, and then I'm going to have a 2-minute break. I think I would have got midway through the first 8 minutes and thought, oh, do you know, this is just too much like hard work. Let's just do a steady run instead. And I wouldn't have done it. But there's something about having you know, another piece of technology, if you like, telling you what to do. And it just means I've kind of stuck to it, and I've definitely worked harder than I would have done otherwise, I think. And I've quite enjoyed it. It's been a bit different for me because I've not really used heart rate particularly as a training tool. I'm having my ups and downs with it, but I do feel fitter, and I'm only 3 weeks in. But I can definitely sort of see a bit of a difference already.
Excellent.
So yeah, it's good. It's been good. So hopefully I'll stick with it.
Do you have the chest strap, or do you have the monitor on your wrist?
No, so I've got the Garmin 235, so it is only wrist based. So I know I have to take it with a little bit of a pinch of salt, but I think for what the purposes of this plan, I think it's probably good enough. It just puts you in particular zones. The main issue that I have, and Fetch has been really helpful because there are inevitably people much more knowledgeable than me on the site who've been looking at what I've done and you know, sort of letting me know that I don't need to worry quite so much. Actually, I think you could get really bogged down in the analysis of it all, and you know, I'm sort of feeling a little bit more relaxed than I was if I don't necessarily hit the right zone straight away, or because obviously you know you kind of can't. You've got to give your heart a bit of a chance to get faster and then slow down again. But yeah, it's good. I'm enjoying it. It's a bit different. So.
Are you finding that your paces tend to be fairly consistent with the heart rate? I mean, what I mean by that is your perceived effort and your pace and your heart rate, are they sort of tending to fit together?
Broadly, but what's interesting is that, and it's really obvious when you say it out loud, but it makes it so clear that as a run goes on, and particularly for the longer sort of easy run at the weekend, which is meant, it's a set time and it's in zone 2, by the time I get to the end of that run, I cannot run at the same pace for the same amount of heart rate. I have to slow down, even though I feel okay, and I don't feel as if I'm massively overdoing it or getting really, really tired, but I have to let that pace drop. And I think that's quite an interesting demonstration of how you do get fatigued, and therefore you know, sort of in the longer run, if I'm looking at pacing myself over, say, a half marathon, to be more aware of easing into that kind of final few miles where you are tired.
Yeah. And
so you're going to have to work harder in order to hold your pace, and it kind of makes that really obvious. And I suppose you just have to accept that that's one of those things, and it doesn't. You know, I'm used to beating myself up if I can't hold a pace, and you know, kind of feeling that that's not good enough, but it just sort of manifestly demonstrates that your body has to do that, otherwise you're not going to make it to the end. So
that's really interesting.
It's interesting.
It kind of lets you off the hook in a way. Well, not lets you off the hook, but it kind of just physically demonstrates to you what's happening to your body and why you need to be able to let that happen.
Yeah,
your body is struggling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is. And so, for example, yesterday's long run, in the last sort of 2.5 miles, there's quite a steady incline, and I really had to slow down in order to keep my heart rate below into the sort of zone 2. And it's kind of, you know, it's not that I can't run fast enough to get up the hill, it's that I need to watch that I'm not overdoing it. And it's quite interesting, and you're right, it kind of explains it for you in a sense, so that you don't feel, oh, I'm just not very fit. And it's, you know, well, it's not that, it's that you've been working quite hard for an hour already.
Yeah. That's really interesting.
Well, the reason I was asking about the chest strap versus the wrist heart rate is I've over the last 2 or 3 weeks I've started taking a heart rate monitor out with me, and mine is a chest strap, and I've tried literally everything to try and get a good signal on it, but the data I'm getting off it is completely sort of meaningless, because even though I'm running at a consistent pace, I've got like the high is 208 and the low is 112 or something. And I've tried tightening the strap, I've tried soaking it, I've tried Katie's ultrasound gel, I've tried, you know, facing west and asking help from Wales. So the numbers it's been giving me are quite noticeably sort of all over the place. So I'm actually hankering after a wrist-based one. So because my experience of those in the past is that they've been pretty good. So yeah.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I feel that this is okay. I mean, occasionally it throws the odd wobbly, but actually, mostly for these runs, it feels about right. And when I look at what's happening afterwards, I can sort of recognise, at that point I was feeling a bit like I was really overdoing it, and I can see that the heart rate was quite high. So I mean, the main issue for me is the kind of the recovery bits. I find, particularly in the more intense interval sessions, I think that is, you know, part of the point of the plan. But the cumulative fatigue is quite something, and by the time I get to the end, I just feel like I haven't really got anything left now. I am absolutely dead on my feet. So.
Oh, that's really interesting. Thank you very much for talking us through that. And I think that's perhaps something that a few people could have a look at, that, because quite a few people have got Garmin's, haven't they? I don't know whether the other watch makes do that sort of thing as well, but sounds like a good motivational tool. So
who have we got next?
We have got Ian talking about Fetchpoint with Mrs. Jinx. It's like Cluedo.
Hello, Mrs. Jinx.
In the drawing room with the candlestick.
Hello.
So where are you today? Are you in your living room?
Yeah, I am, sitting in comfort.
Excellent. So have you been out today, or are you planning it, or is it a rest day, or what?
It's a rest day as far as running is concerned, but I will go out for a walk later, because I'm trying now to get myself out every day, or near enough every day, depending on how much work I'm doing outside in the garden and in the shed. So if I'm doing hard work, then I probably don't go out. But yeah, it's a walk day today, so I should be after that bug.
Excellent. So you've been doing some fetch pointing, the game.
Yeah, I used to play Fetch Point a lot, and Who Squares Wins, and then I reached the stage where I felt like they were ruling me rather than I was going out for the fun of it. So I quit both those games maybe a couple of years ago. Actually, talking about Fetch Point, the first time I met Barefoot M and iShep was you remember, was at a park run. We'd gone on a tourist park run, Jigs and myself, and I think Jigs had hoovered up all the flowers belonging to Emma, and I'm not sure she's forgiven us yet.
It was a Christmas day, wasn't it?
Sorry?
Christmas Day at Chip in Sudbury.
Yes, that's right. Yes, quite a long time ago now. I think we were doing Christmas or New Year tourism that we generally do. But yeah, so we've enjoyed Fetch Point quite a lot in the past, but I quit it because I didn't want it to rule me. I wanted to have the fun of it. But with the lockdown, I lost motivation for going out. In fact, I've got no underlying health issues, so there's no reason for me to be more concerned than the next person. But I find myself a bit reluctant to go out and walk or go out and run. And one week I'd only done a 5-mile run, and that's really not good enough if I want to maintain fitness. And so I thought, hey, I'm going to rejoin Fetch Point to give me a purpose to get out there, go looking for a bug, earn some points, and get myself back motivated to running again. So hence I signed up to the game again. So it's been really good, I think, having all these games available. It does give motivation. And I find actually listening to other people here today so far, I'm not alone in having been reluctant to go out and face the world and be motivated to run and whatever. So
Yeah.
it's been quite interesting to hear that other people have felt pretty much the same.
Oh.
Yeah, you're definitely not alone, Catherine. I think a lot of people have felt like that, even though, you know, the rational thinking would be I'm not in a higher risk, or I'm not this or I'm not that. But there's definitely, I think, a lot of people feeling fearful. And certainly I've seen that on social media posts from people, you know, that you wouldn't normally sort of imagine to have those sort of fears, and, you know, the thought of being close to people. And I've felt it as well. The thought of being close to people feels really strange at the moment. I mean, obviously apart from this one, who I'm quite happy to be nice and close to, but yeah, I think, and I think reading some of the threads on Fetch as well, it's clear that people are quite anxious. So but I'm really glad you found Fetch Point and come back to that. And what's your score at the moment? Are you winning it?
Are you positive on Fetch Point positive?
Because I've started back again with a 0, and because I've been going out most days, I'm moving up the ranks quite quickly, which is quite pleasing. I did have a look to see where I was today, but I've forgotten. I think it's in the 60s anyway.
Oh,
so yeah, so I'm climbing up through the ranks.
Excellent.
In general, I've seen most of the games are seeing an increase in people doing them just because there are no events to do. People are looking for, like you said, reasons to get out and a bit of motivation and a bit of a challenge. So it's just nice that they're there. I mean, I didn't have any of this in mind, but you know, when I made the games, but it's just lucky really that they are there.
You hadn't figured that there was going to be a global pandemic?
No, Katie.
I can't believe it. I mean, anyway, you hadn't watched Outbreak? You haven't watched any of those?
We've noticed that there's a certain sort of genre of films on Netflix that keep getting into our recommended list, and it's always like, you know, the horrible virus or the zombies or something like that. But
anyway.
So you're mainly sort of chasing the bugs then, Catherine? Is that your strategy?
I'm chasing the bugs. I think there's only one other player local to me, and that's not Jigs. He's not rejoined yet.
Yeah.
So Turkish plays the game, or at least I'm not sure how well he goes out looking for his bugs, because there seem to be quite a few around there. So it's quite nice for me because I get to infect them and increase my points. And because he doesn't seem to be looking at it too closely, I've managed to get all the the traffic lights. Yeah, the traffic lights close to me, so every time he goes out, he scores me points, which is really nice. But I've noticed that the thread had gone a bit ballistic as well. So there's a lot more people seems to be joining in with playing Fetch Point now.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a good motivation for people, isn't it? And the other game that's on there is Trader, of course, and I have to make sure that I get out and do a certain amount of mileage, because Beanie is a real toughie. She just dumps me if I don't keep up my mileage. So I've got to have some sort of motor to keep going.
Excellent. Well, it's really nice that you've found those things, and it's also really nice to hear you talking quite competitively, because that's the Mrs. Jigs I know, is a competitive lady.
Yeah, well, it's a bit of a shame that all the races have fallen by the wayside. And I was doing a marathon as a training for my autumn marathon, which is or should be Chicago, but whether that happens or not, we shall see. And I'm not even entirely sure that I'm ready to face big crowds anyway, so I just sort of go with the flow. It doesn't really matter either way.
Yeah,
but I need to keep my mileage up. So I set myself, I need to run at least 4 times a week, and I need to walk once or twice a week, because I can't do 7 days if I want to keep. I've started doing a lot of gardening, so I want to give time to that. So my objective is to do at least 25 miles per week running, and if I can make that up to 30, then that's good.
Excellent. Very good.
That's awesome. Cool. So where were we? What?
It's Chris next.
Chris.
You're talking
Chris,
to Chris
hello.
about following people's training. We both follow Chris's training, don't we? And we try and get onto it really quickly as soon as it's been uploaded to the site. We both like to get on there and comment quite quickly.
It's quite fun scaring Chris. He looks as though he's frozen at the moment. Are you there, Chris?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yeah, our video shot of you is a very sort of still fingers clasped. There he is. He's moving again. So yeah, we like
videos in front of me. People aren't moving.
So we like turning up on your training pretty much the second you've logged it and saying something just to put the frighteners up you. But
before I've even got it on there, I think you've got an alarm, like you said in your kitchen, a klaxon that goes off.
It's true. Yeah.
But it's kind of nice that, I mean, I know you comment on mine and Katie's training quite a bit as well, and we try and comment on yours. And that follow button is obviously that's how we're doing it. It's not actually a klaxon. Yeah. So how many people are you following, do you think? Let's put you on the spot.
Yeah, less now than I was, because lack of racing, lack of training for the marathon that we're going to do. I think there's 4 or 5 people that I'm currently following training of. There's more when we were marathon training, and my little nemesis is, if you like, where I was wanting to improve them or keep up with them, or they were slightly younger or slightly older than me that were slightly performing better than I was, and my aim was to try and improve to catch up or beat them. But it's fun.
We're struggling to hear you a little bit. I think we're sort of missing every 4th word, it feels like. But
we lost the little end bit that you just said, the very last sentence.
Said it was fun.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's nice. It definitely feels like it sort of gives me some motivation for the next one when I get some responses like straight off. So every time we have the Christmas calendar, I always try and include a challenge to follow some people, just to get people mixing together and keeping an eye on each other a little bit. So you've been doing a little bit of sort of chatting to people as well. I know you've been talking to Trin, is that right?
Yeah, on the podcast forum a week or 2 back, there was just a little comment from Trin that she was climbing the wall. She'd only got running on the spot for company, couldn't leave the boundaries of her own property, and shopping once a fortnight and only talking to the person on the checkout. So it was just something I thought of her in the moment, and having only met him once at the BBC, and that is his for his challenge. I thought, well, we ended up somehow as Facebook friends, and I did a FaceTime call, and so put a face in front of her, perhaps not one she wanted to look at, but put a face in front of her that she could actually see somebody else for a change instead of just running on the spot.
Yeah. Having seen Trin's lap, when she said she was climbing the wall, I think that's actually part of her lap of the house. So
I didn't see all of the lap because the video froze a little bit, but I know she's a little bit cautious around by the pool, which you mentioned when we were chatting on FaceTime.
You don't want an accidental aquathlon as part of
No, I think Trin's actually going to run that lap with armbands on because she doesn't like the water.
Good idea.
Cool. So, and how's your training going, Chris?
Better than it was, getting back out there, 4 runs a week, being cautious, doing a couple of recovery runs around, as you named it, my field of dreams. It's 3 fields altogether, totaling a 1.2 mile lap. So I get out there and do a couple of laps of that and home again. It's just nicely adding up, trying to force myself out there. And in actual fact, it was Katie that commented. It gave me the kick up the backside that I needed to get back out there and get running. I think I was frightened of going back out running again, and my shin had been swollen, which is why I'd stopped running, and I was frightened of getting back out there again and it coming back. And it was Katie that gave me the kick up the backside that I needed to go out. So I've been cautious since. All my runs were initially on grass, or once I'd got there on the grass, and I've gradually introduced a couple of road runs in the week. So now I'm 2 road runs and 2 recovery runs. Still cautious on the mileage, but longing to get out there and do a longer run. But I'd say cautious about it.
Yeah.
And how's your hip feeling? Is it okay?
After 8 hours on it last night, no, it aches a little bit, but it will improve. I know it will. I think that's only happened because I've been squatting in a hole trying to dig out shrub and tree roots over the last few days.
Yeah, classic gardening injury.
Yeah. I should have been out there waving to Trin in Spain, but it was Costa del Boston digging up shrubs.
If we could just interrupt you for a second, Chris, because we've got an incoming outside broadcast from 57.5 degrees of pain. He's still smiling. Can you hear us?
Still got blue sky. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's just about. It's a little bit windier now.
It is. I'm going to try and find myself a sheltered spot so you can put my audio off, and I'll hopefully find somewhere to hide behind a bit.
All right, catch you in a minute. Okay. So Chris, so your training's got back to it, and you were one of the people aiming to do Boston Marathon, the UK Boston, the Costa del Boston Marathon.
Yeah.
Are you looking into the future and thinking, will it be an autumn marathon? I guess not with the volume that you're doing at the moment, but are you thinking there will be autumn marathons, or do you think it'll be next spring, or what's your prediction for the future, Chris?
I've changed the Boston Marathon. I was going to do it in September, but I've moved it back to April next year now.
Yeah.
Build my mileage up again, and hopefully stay injury free, and target Boston next year.
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, that sounds really sensible, actually.
That's cool.
Yeah. Shall we see if we can come back to Tim? Just unmute him. Oh, no.
Yes, I might still be a bit windy.
Too much information. How are you doing, Tim? How are you going with the squares, do you think?
What was that? I didn't quite hear that.
Oh, I said, how are you doing with your squares?
Oh, I've finished my squares for the day now. I'm heading home.
Okay. So what's your feeling? Are you going to be the conqueror?
We will see how crafty JCB is. And I suspect that given that he's a Who Squares Wins master, I think he may have something crafty up his sleeve as well.
Yeah. He might be asleep right now, but he might have one of those sort of nodding bird things pressing the button on his Garmin just to...
I think I think midday is probably kind of breakfast time for him. So he probably gets up and plots something dastardly to win.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Well, fingers crossed for you. I'm trying to be neutral, but we're all rooting for you. Come on.
Yeah.
You've got this.
Definitely.
Excellent.
Cool.
Right.
Well,
where have we got?
We've got 2 more Fetchies to hear from, actually. Am I counting right? Yes. And they've been waiting incredibly patiently. And we are going to hear from Barefoot M now. And it's going to be no major surprise to you, but Barefoot M is going to talk to us about barefoot running. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your little journey into this sort of still quite unusual thing to do?
Yeah, okay. So I came back to running in late 2011 after being given getting a ballot place in the London Marathon. Okay. I was very much not a runner, very overweight, very unfit, ate badly, drank too much, just all the rubbish. But I'd got a ballot place, and I was going to prove everybody wrong and show them that I could run a marathon. So I went to, first stop was to go to a running shop, which was a horrific experience. They looked me up and down and kind of said, well, you're not a runner.
Oh, no.
Sold me it was terrible. It was absolutely horrible. And they sold me some shoes which were very pretty, and I'm sure they would work for a lot of people, but they made my feet hurt. Kind of my arches were really, really sore after about half a mile of heavily pounding the streets. So I was having a little bit of physio on my shoulder, I think, because I am hypermobile, so I dislocate quite easily, and I was having physio via my GP on my shoulder, and I happened to mention to the physiotherapist, you know, my feet are really sore, I'm trying to take up running, and she said, oh, no, a hypermobile person shouldn't be running, it's really bad for you, you know, you will be dislocating all kinds of joints, and it's, you know, it's really not a good idea. And you know, and the shoes will be kind of restricting the movement of the foot, which is probably why it's sore. Your feet are used to having all this additional flexibility. And I said to her, well, I've got this place in the marathon, I'm going to do it. I need to find a way of getting through this. You know, other people who are hypermobile do run, so therefore I am sick to the back teeth of people telling me that you can't do this because of this reason or that reason, whatever. I'm stubborn, and I wanted to do it. So she mentioned to me that it might be worth me trying to start my training with no shoes at all, running around my back garden completely barefoot, which I thought was bonkers, because everything I'd read talked about having the best possible shoes and, you know, support and padding, and I'd been backwards and forwards to this running shop, and they'd sold me insoles and all kinds of stuff to kind of really rigidly hold my feet in a position that they thought was best. So I did some research, and I found the Vivo Barefoot website and the Merrill Barefoot website. Merrill don't really do barefoot shoes anymore. Vivo still do. And I found a shop in Bristol that sold Merrill barefoot shoes, and I went in there and said, hi, you know, and I'm still massively overweight and don't look like a runner and all this kind of thing. They were a bit more friendly, but they were not keen on me buying barefoot shoes, because it's something you have to transition into slowly, and it seemed almost like it was this secret society that I'd stumbled upon, and you know, oh no, you're not a real runner, you're not a runner yet, and you can't possibly be thinking about doing this secret thing with barefoot running. But okay, try a pair on and hop on the treadmill. And so I did, and it was like magic. I was able to run slowly, plod slowly on this treadmill with zero pain at all. And the guy in the shop said to me, you are running like a barefoot runner with no transition. So the main difference between, I probably should have said this first actually, the main difference between the way a barefoot runner runs and a non-barefoot runner runs is where you land on the foot. So I will land on my toes or my midsole. If I'm really tired, getting towards the end of a longer run, I'll land more midsole. At the start of a run, I'll be very much on my toes. Whereas everybody who runs in standard shoes will land on their heels and kind of roll their foot. So it's a very different kind of way of a completely different way of landing and pushing off again. So my heels, unless I'm really, really tired, don't touch the floor at all when I'm running. And I was naturally doing this on the treadmill, and the guy said to me, yeah, these shoes are perfect for you. You are already running as a barefoot runner. This is why the other shoes hurt you, because they were forcing you to land on your heel, and that was causing pain in the midsection of my foot. So I got rid of the expensive running shoes that I bought in the first shop, and I switched to my first pair were a Merrill pair, and off I went, and I started my training. I had no foot pain, no joint pain, no nothing, and it's been kind of, for me, a really, really easy transition into it. About 12 months after I'd taken up running, Ishep decided he wanted in on the action, and he already had trainers, and he went out, and his running was much faster and much easier than mine seemed to be. He was getting much better results than I did, much quicker. And after a little bit of time, and me banging on about the benefits of barefoot running, he decided he wanted to make that transition as well. But for him, because he was already running the way everybody else runs, he had to do the transition process slowly and more carefully. So he went from running kind of half marathon distance down to nothing, literally running to the end of the road and back again. And that was all he did one day. And then he'd have a day off, have a rest day where his calves would be absolutely killing him. And then he'd go out the next day and he'd go to the end of the road and back again, and then maybe around the garden or something like that, and built it up really, really slowly. But now he's fully transitioned, and he runs barefoot as well. So it's not for everybody, but it's yeah.
That's so interesting. I feel like I could talk to you for quite a long time about this. The ages and ages ago, when barefoot running had just become a sort of a thing, and there'd been quite a lot of attention on the Vivo. Is it Vivo or Vivo? Vivo.
I've always said Vivo. I think it's Vivo.
Yeah, and I think they'd actually had to change some of their claims on their website.
No, that was Vibram. That was the makers of the 5 fingers shoe. So the shoes that look like gloves. They've got the individual toes.
Yes. Yeah.
Funny.
Yeah.
I've never worn those. I did try a pair on once, and they just felt really weird. I know a lot of people who wear them find them absolutely amazing, but their marketing years ago didn't focus on this kind of really slow transition. Exactly. And they were finding that people were going, oh right, I'm going to be a barefoot runner, going out and buying a pair of 5 fingers, and they're really hurting themselves.
Yeah.
And then there were lawsuits in America and things like that. So they'd
sort of made the mistake of claiming that they would make you a runner who never got injured, but they didn't explain what you did, which was to do that very slow transition. Yeah. Or you as a person, you were naturally running like that because you hadn't had too much experience in really cushioned shoes that you'd enjoyed, so you were naturally the right way. Yeah. But I went to a talk around about that time. I went to a talk, and it was a lady who'd done her entire PhD on, is barefoot running better, basically. I mean, this wasn't the title, but it was along the lines of, is barefoot running better than running in cushioned shoes? And we were, obviously as physios, we were all like really excited. What was the conclusion going to be? Were we going to find out that this was the new thing? And actually what it came down to was, as it often does in medicine, was it depends. It depends what kind of runner you are, and it depends how you transition into it. And if you transition into it very, very slowly, you'll probably do quite well with it. But if you try to go from being a cushioned shoe wearer to a barefoot, you're going to come into problems. So it sounds like Ishep, or I like to call him Bishop. It sounds like he had to go back to sort of square one with them. But yeah, I'm really kind of disappointed that you had such a negative experience with both running shoe shops to begin with, because again, that just kind of comes down to this ridiculous kind of, I mean, if you look at all of us here sitting here, we're all runners and we're all shapes and sizes, ages, and it just really frustrates me that you had that experience. But so brilliant that hopefully that second shop you went into, you gave that person who served you a really good lesson in, okay, don't judge anyone that walks through these doors, because they might be a perfect barefoot runner.
Absolutely, and that's exactly what the guy said. He he was a lot more welcoming than the first shop had been anyway, but he just seemed very resistant to, you know, I'd googled where can I buy Merrill shoes, and there was this one little, it was a triathlon shop, and I said, you know, I'm interested in trying a pair of Merrill barefoot shoes, and he's like, have you run barefoot before? And I think it was probably more the case that he was trying to be, we're going back 9 years, almost 8.5 years. So it was, there wasn't the knowledge around barefoot running that there is now. And I think he probably just didn't want to just go, oh yeah, here's a pair of barefoot shoes, go nuts, and have me coming back in 3 days going, I can't walk because my calves really hurt. But, you know, I come from a background of, as a teenager, I was a track runner. I loved running track, but I always ran with no shoes on. I never ever ran with shoes on as a track runner, because I was faster that way. I was faster. I found it more comfortable, and you know, it drove my PE teacher absolutely nuts at school. He hated it, but that's where I was. That's how I was most comfortable. And then having left school and not run for 10, 15 years, something like that, obviously my body hasn't developed this adult way of running where you heel strike. So I count myself as one of the lucky ones. I could just go into it, and it was perfect for me. But it's worth, I would say to anybody, particularly in this nice weather, while we're all running around our back gardens, give it a go. Take your shoes off. Have a go just running around with nothing on your feet, because it's liberating. And just be careful.
Is it best to start with grass? Or, I mean, if you were to start barefoot running, would you start with grass or?
Yes, yeah. So if I was starting from scratch, I would say just don't worry about buying special shoes or anything like that. Just take your shoes off. If there's a beach nearby, or you've got some nice grass that doesn't have anything, you know, there's nothing hidden in it, just go and just play, play with the kids or play with the dog or whatever, running around with no shoes on, and your feet will naturally do what they're supposed to.
I've just noticed that Fendon Flyer has just patiently clicked the raises his hand button. So I think he's got a question for you, Em.
It's not actually a question. I've never seen anybody run on their toes before, but at the last Jingle Mile in Cambridge, I was running with Hell's Bells and her daughter Tiger Feet, and Tiger Feet was running on her toes, and it looked so dainty, so different. We're all running normal, if you like, whatever normal is to each other, but Tiger Feet was up there on her toes, and it looked really odd to see because I've never seen anybody running like that before. And it's so graceful. It just looked so graceful up on her toes, and that's how she ran the whole mile. And I couldn't believe it. I wouldn't say I tried to imitate it. I didn't, but I did try to go up on my toes, and it's a totally different running experience to how I run or how a lot of other people run on. You know, I think I don't heel strike. I'm more mid-sole now than when I started. But yeah, she was up on her toes, and it's totally different. So I can understand, you know, how you feel about that.
Yeah, and you will find it really hard to toe strike in standard running shoes, because they won't allow your feet to do it, which is why I was getting such pain in my feet. because that's how I run, and the shoes weren't allowing me to do that.
I don't know what footwear she's wearing. They look like, normal trainers, if you like, running shoes, but that's something I'll have to ask Els Bells now then, or Tiger Feet next time I see her.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I had a pair of, I think they were Skechers once, and they were pretty much like high heels. And I gave up on those after about one run because it felt like someone had put ham sandwiches in the backs of my shoes, and there was no way I could almost like climb over the top of them to get to my next stride. So it's, as soon as I can totally understand the need to transition to a different style, because even that extra probably half a centimeter of alteration to where I was totally threw me out. And yeah, you can see how it would mess with you. And I've also, you made me think back to running around on the beach. I went to Wales a couple of summers ago, and we had a lovely game of cricket on Barry Island Beach. And I was running around barefoot then, and it just felt lovely, and you feel like you've been transported back to being a kid again. So, but now we've got another hand up. People are getting the hang of putting the little hand up icon, and it's 57.5 degrees of pain. So, are you there?
Yes, I was going to say, when I lived in New Zealand, all the kids used to run in bare feet at young ages. And obviously they have slightly better weather, but not a great deal than us. But it was a strange thing to see when you saw kids races and they'd all be taking their shoes off. The only problem occurred once when they set a cross-country course under a horse chestnut tree, and the kids came around onto that straight, and all of a sudden there was a lot of hopping about. But it was a nice thing to see that they actually all got brought up with bare feet, because I'm sure it was fairly good for their foot development.
The more I hear about New Zealand, the more I think it's just some sort of earthly paradise, really. I mean, they've sorted out coronavirus in a matter of seconds, it seems, and they seem to do a lot of things right. But
it's a long way away from anywhere else, so they can do things their own way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thanks very much, Em. That's really good.
Really interesting.
No worries.
Yeah, excellent. And finally, I think the most patient of all is Dibble, our final contributor. And you should have been having a much busier day yesterday than I'm guessing you did have.
Yeah, like a lot of us. A lot of us on Fetch. Then yesterday I'd have been running the London Marathon. And I don't know whether any of you saw yesterday. There's a really good documentary yesterday afternoon on the BBC. They showed the highlights of the very first London Marathon, which was sort of fascinating to see the differences between then and now. And it brought back memories of my first London Marathon. I didn't actually do the first one in 1981, but I did do what must have been the 11th one in 1991. And I dug out my old videotape, so I watched the highlights of the 1991 marathon. So it's interesting to see the differences there.
But the 4-hour tape, is that telling? Or
it is a 4-hour tape. This is the there's only about 3/4 of an hour highlights on it, along with a few other things. There's an old episode of Thunderbirds on there, and there was some football on there as well. But I did find that eventually I found the on the London Marathon. But also, I guess, like a lot of you, then I've been sort of trying to tidy up stuff and clear up stuff. And so I actually went to the loft last week and found my London Marathon kit bag from 1991.
Oh, brilliant.
Wow.
So this probably won't work for those of you who are listening. This is a bit of a show and tell. So I found, so in it, it's got the original T-shirt.
Still fits?
It fits. It's huge. It is actually huge. I don't know whether it's big enough. I'm much bigger, or whether they just gave me a large T-shirt. So I've still got the T-shirt from last time. The actual vest I wore is in there as well. I was running for leukemia and what's the other one? British Heart Foundation. I was running for both. It's still got the sticker for the British Heart Foundation, which makes me think that I probably haven't washed it in 29 years. But anyway, that's an old one. I've got the medal there. It's not actually as big as it looks in the video. It's actually, I think it's a lot smaller than.
Close to the camera now.
Yeah, it's a lot smaller than they give out medals nowadays. So I think they've reduced the sizes of the medal. There's all sorts of other things. That's the. I've got the number that I pinned on the front of the shirt, but there's a bit missing at the bottom, because what happened then is that when you finished, they'd tear it off, and that would have a barcode on it, so they could scan that barcode to find where you'd finished. Because of course we didn't have chip times or anything like that in those days.
Oh, wow.
What else have we got? So to get your results, you didn't used to get a text or anything like that. To actually find your official result, you had to wait until the next day and buy, was the Independent? Yeah, the Independent. You had to buy the Independent newspaper, and they have 12 pages listing everybody's results. I'm down there on page 8, something like that. Finishing 16,100 and something.
We've got a hand raised from Trin in Spain. So a
question?
question?
Yeah, carry on. You're just bringing back a lot of memories. I ran London Marathon in 1982, the second ever London Marathon, and it's kind of bringing back lots of memories from back in those days. But it's so different to how it is now, and having to get your results in the newspaper in the next few days, and the kit. I think I might still have a vest from a Mars London Marathon, and when it was Mars, the one thing I do remember is when you're coming through the finish, you just handed out Mars bars.
Yeah.
And at the end of the London Marathon, it's the last thing you want is a Mars bar. I just remember that so vividly, and it was just like making me feel sick. But yeah, good memories. Thank you.
The entire contents of my goodie bag, including the shampoo samples after my first marathon. But Cora's just also brought something onto her camera, which is it a badge from?
It was the sort of London Marathon 1981. It's like a patch that my dad actually was supposed to run it, but he was ill, so he didn't make the first one. But they must have sent stuff in advance, so he got the patch.
Oh,
wow.
He did make it a further 2 times, though. He ran it in 86 and 88, I believe.
That's fantastic. So it's got a bulldog with a Union Jack on it. Very, about as British as if it had a cigar in its mouth. That could be anyway.
It does look a bit mad as well. I'll post a picture up in the gallery.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic. So, I mean, you're talking about the goodie bag, then apparently of the things they're giving out in the goodie bag, there's a Complan, which is a complete meal in a drink strawberry flavour. Perhaps I'll try that. Best before May 1992, so I think I ought to check that. I ought to check that by now. I don't know why I kept that. That's it's an original water bottle all the way from Ardennes. Spa was the sponsors in those days, so so that's still there. That really ought to go in the recycling. These are the official race instructions. An interesting thing I did find when I was reading through the race instructions is that you've got to keep ahead of pace of 4.5 hours, which I think is different. I don't know what the time limit is now, but then it was 4.5 hours when they'd start to open up all the streets. So you had. I know it's a lot longer. Is it 8 now?
8 now, yeah.
It's 8 now, yeah. I would say originally in those days it was 4.5 hours. I mean, I was official time, or the finishing time was something like 4 hours 25. I mostly managed to keep ahead of it. The one thing I do remember is that the race used to go in front of the Thistle Hotel and in front of the Tower of London. You used to have to run on these cobblestones.
Yeah.
And I was running through, they were just getting ready to sort of, now it goes up round sort of one of the clearer roads, so it can go past Fetch Point rather than go past the Tower of London. But they were actually clearing up the carpet that they put up on the cobblestones, and I think it was one of the last people to actually get through on the carpet before that finished. So I'd say they did used to clear it up a lot quicker than they used to. The other thing that actually is probably a lot different now is that getting sponsorship is a lot different. I mean, it wouldn't be of interest to you, but I've got a whole list of names. This is my list of sponsors. Oh. And of course, the really big difference then is that you couldn't just send out an email, stick out on a website and say, just sponsor me. You actually had to go around, phone everybody up, phone your friends up, go and see your friends, spend an hour wandering around the office to go and see everybody and say, look, I'm running the London Marathon, will you sponsor me? Get them to sign the form. And then the week after you had to go around and say, remember we signed me for the London Marathon? Then you've got to give me that. So that was a lot more arduous, sort of back in those days.
Wow.
I found this is the sort of the Athletics Weekly with official results. And it's got a bit about the sort of, they didn't, and also seen on the video, they didn't really have so much about the celebrities as they do nowadays. I think there was one person from Blue Peter. There was a guy from That's Life. Sebastian Coe ran his first marathon. There was some TV presenter, kids TV presenter who was very, very big blonde hair, was running his 200th marathon. If you don't know what I'm talking about, then that's probably just as well. Then actually there was an interview with Sebastian Coe, and he was this is the thing that interested me. He was talking about he was asked, how confident are you that London's Olympic 2000 bid will be accepted? And he talks about say, will you use Wembley? And he says no, we intend to use the Greenwich Peninsula and Silvertown, which I think is somewhere down in East London. And the site in the stadium in Silvertown is again something which was being discussed in our outline plan. It could involve West Ham United Football Club. Our plan is for a 60,000 capacity stadium augmented to 80,000 for the games. That will be only 3 miles away from Stratford, where the new Channel Tunnel crossing will come in. Wow. So, he got that right. 12 years out, but he got that nearly right. And just one last thing. That's the actual silver foil blanket that I've got from.
It doesn't look as though it's been completely unfolded, so that sounds like it was good news.
Yeah.
I feel
so. I'm not confident that we'll run it in October. I suspect that I'll end up running it on the 30th anniversary of my first race rather than the 29th anniversary, which has a bit more of a ring about it.
Yeah.
That's quite a nice symmetry. But the thing that I'm feeling right now is inadequate at the lack of sort of stuff that I kept from running our London Marathon.
I ate it all.
Yeah, I didn't keep anything. I think I kept my medal. I might have my vest somewhere.
Yeah, I've got one of my numbers. I've done it twice. I've got one of the numbers on the wall, and I've got the medals. But yeah.
Very well done.
I think I'm going to have to check a lot of that stuff out. There's a lot of other junk in there as well.
I kept all mine.
Sometime, and you have to wheel it all out again. It's lovely to see it. You've got to put it back in the loft now.
Yeah, I'm the bit.
Oh, I need to get the thingy back.
Cool. Oh, well, I think have we done everything that we're going to do?
I think we have. Yeah, I think we've done everything.
Yeah. So just a big thank you, everybody. So thank you, Cora. Thank you, Biff at M. Thank you, Mrs. Jiggs. Thank you, Dibble. Thank you, Trin, Autumn Leaves, and 57.5 degrees. And Chris in the middle. I thought that was me in the middle. It's not.
No, you're this one.
I'm this one, right. Okay, yeah. I'm the one with the hat on. Yeah. So as far as I can tell, it's been a lot of fun. And hopefully it'll make for an interesting podcast.
Let's hope we've got audio.
Yeah. Or you'll all have to remember exactly what you just said.
Lovely.
I'm not going out for another run, even if you have to re-record it.
Yeah, so I don't know what, do you want to, so if I come to you each individually, you can each say your little sort of goodbyes or whatever. So Chris, let's do you first so I don't forget you. So Fenland Fryer. Flyer.
Did you want chips with that piece of fish? Bye, everybody. Safe running and stay safe yourselves. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. And Trin?
Okay, it's bye from me. I've got just want to add some good news. I don't know if you've heard on the news that children under 14 or under 15 can go out now for exercise for an hour. And the rumour is that from the 2nd of May, as in like Saturday, we can actually go out to have a little bit of exercise. So this time next week, I could be out there running.
Hey. Let's hope so.
Let's fingers crossed for that.
You don't have to pretend to be 14 or anything in order to get out this week.
I did say to running on the spot, would I pass for under 15? But it just kind of blanked me.
Okay, autumn leaves.
Oh, yeah. Bye from me. It's been lovely. It's been lovely to see people, and especially Trin. Trin's one of my training buddies. We comment on each other's training, and it's nice to see you. But yeah, just keep running, everybody. Keep fetching. We'll get through this, and there are better times ahead, definitely.
Excellent. Dibble, do you want to say something?
Yeah, goodbye for me, and say hopefully having seen you all virtually, it's been great, and I can add you to my Fetch sticker book, even if we've only met virtually. So I think that counts. So take care, everybody, and keep running, and see you all soon.
Yeah, 57.5 degrees. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, well, thanks a lot, and goodbye from a very sunny Nairn in the northeast of Scotland. Most of the time that I wasn't talking to you, it was raining on me, and every time I did talk to you, the sun came out brightly. So you must be doing something good.
Oh, fantastic!
Excellent.
Mrs. Jiggs.
Oh yes. Oh, it's been lovely seeing you all. And yes, I'm going to claim some of these stickers too, because there's about 3 I think that I didn't have. So yeah, that keeps me up the top for a little bit longer. But it's been great seeing you. Good running, everybody. Have fun and just take care.
Excellent. Barefoot M. And
yeah.
Check around as well.
He was briefly, but he's got himself in a bit of a who squares wins situation, so he's had to go out and try and reclaim some cake which appeared just before this went live, so he couldn't make it. But yeah, thanks very much. It's been fantastic. It's been lovely to see Mrs. Jiggs and Trin, who I've met in real life. At races over the years, but it's been lovely to see put some faces to names of other fetchies, and I hadn't thought about the sticker book thing, so I'm going to go and find my sticker book now. But thank you very much, and yeah, stay safe, and hopefully meet you all one day in real life somewhere in the future.
Let's hope so.
And Cora?
Just to say thanks everybody for it's just been fantastic, and again putting faces to names and actually seeing people. It's not quite total contact, but it's good enough. It will keep us going through, and it's just been such good time. And you know, keep getting out there, folks, and big hugs to you all.
Oh, it's lovely.
Yes.
Okay, and Katie, do you want to say anything?
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody. That has been really brilliant. I'm looking forward to editing it because I get to listen to it all again. And yes, just say the same thing. What is that?
It's my clock.
Oh.
It's a bird clock that goes off with a different bird every hour.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, just to say keep safe, and yeah, I'd love to see you all in real life as soon as possible. Thank you, please, and bye from me.
Yeah, and you've said it all, so thanks very much for listening, everybody. Send your contributions to podcast@fetchie.com. All of that stuff, all the usual stuff. Who needs it?
Are you feeling self-conscious about saying it?
Yeah, I am. Well, everybody's watching. If you could all just turn away, please. But yeah, thanks to everybody who's been here today, and thanks to all the listeners. One final thing I've got to remember is that we were walking the dogs down the road a couple of days ago, and one of our neighbours is loading stuff into. Oh, who's got a dog?
Me.
Trin's dog. One of our neighbours was filling a skip with earth from his garden. Nothing sinister. And he said, I've been listening to your podcast. I didn't even realise that he was sort of connected with running at all. But apparently him and a friend were arranging to do a 10K in May. And he's been listening to our podcast, and it was just really weird to think that somebody that we didn't think was tuning in. So there are people out there listening to this as well, remarkably. So hello, Rob.
Hi, Rob.
How are you doing? Hope the skip is keeping you entertained. And we'll see you next time, everybody. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Cheerio.
Bye.
Bye. Lovely. Oh, thanks, guys.
That was fab.
Thank you. That's great.
Take care, everybody.
See you.
Great.
Yeah, you too, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.